You are listening to What the Flood, brought to you by Aon Edge, flood insurance that works for you. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of What the Flood podcast. I have a couple of guests in here today, one of which is Dave Zeornes. He is the leader of our sales team. And then we also have the president and CEO of Aon Edge, John Dickson. Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Lauren.
How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Another
Ready to talk about
fantastic day.
flood.
There was a hesitation there. Yeah, it's been quite the interesting last few months. I know, John, you're up in Montana. How's everything going up there?
We're going well. We're right in the throes of our winter snow melt, so we're starting to see the white magic disappear off the hillsides, and we're starting to see puddles start to accumulate in valleys and runoffs. So this is the season now where people start putting their preparation to test, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. I think that's true for a lot of the country right now. I'm out here in New Jersey. It's definitely true for us. We have one or two small piles of snow still in my backyard, but waiting for that to melt. I know, John, this is your favorite season, spring, right?
Oh, just I can't get enough of the spring. Love me some spring.
And then Dave's down in Texas, and you guys went through quite a storm season last a couple weeks ago, right? How's everything down there now?
We did. The fairways look good and the greens are getting greener. So we're bouncing back strong.
Good. Glad you're not in the tornado alley going on in the southeast
Yeah,
part of the country right now.
looks pretty
That's
rough.
intense. Yes.
So we're going to talk today a little bit about the flood market and some of the trends we've been seeing over the last couple of years. But before we start talking about that, I just wanted to ask John, you've been around since day one for Aon Edge. How did the company really come about? What was the dream that really sparked this to come to fruition?
I think what started this exciting journey that we're on was watching the NFIP struggle with an incredible mandate. You think back, 10, 15 years, the NFIP is supposed to be flood insurance to everybody, everywhere. That's a tall order when you think about the span of risks and geographies that we have in the United States of America. Many types of houses, many types of structures built in different periods of time, built in different locations. And having one organization, having one federal program be responsible for ensuring all of this business everywhere is proven unrealistic. And we saw bigger waters get passed through Congress in 2012. And on the heels of that, we saw the Homeowners Flood Insurance Affordability Act. Those two measures together opened the door for private markets, for private capital markets to write flood insurance risks and for those insurances to be accepted by lenders. Watching that happen, we saw an opportunity to create a new experience for agents to help the NFIP and others in this space reach more homes. So that really was the genesis, looking at an overtaxed federal agency with an incredible mandate, doing the best it could with the resources it had, an opportunity, a regulatory framework where private markets could write the risk and capital markets interested in writing the risk. We felt that we could be one of the excellent bridges to help bring these important solutions to more homes.
Yeah, I was on the agency side for quite a number of years before I moved over to Aon Edge, and it's really been amazing to see the changes in the flood industry since private flood really entered into the market.
Yeah,
What
the
changes?
NFIP was the market, right? I mean, that was it. And when I think we all started with Edge, you had to like convince people that you could write a flood policy without an elevation certificate. They didn't believe you. You had to like convince them that this was even possible to do. So yeah, the NFIP was absolutely the market that everybody knew then.
I would go to conferences and we'd speak about the evolution of flood insurance and the players entering the space. And everybody comes back to the point that roughly 1 in 10 homes in the country carry flood insurance. A far cry from what's needed to make sure our homes, our communities, our families are protected. And you think about why that is, and I liken it to a cell phone, right? Imagine if everybody in the country, there's only one phone and one service plan available. Would everybody carry a cell phone? I say it's unlikely. The fact that you can pick whatever phone, whatever device you want, what fits your needs, what fits your style, and you can fit a plan to customize to respond to, again, your usage, your family lifestyle, the number of people, and what they do with their equipment. That's what drives adoption. That's what makes it personable for everybody. And that's what was missing. You know, the NFIP, you get one flavor of ice cream, it makes it tough for everybody to find it attractive and find it valuable.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you have a very personal connection to the name of the company. Can you tell us how it was named?
Well, it's interesting. You know, when we first began this journey, we found a great partner, and that partner had an agency named Advanced Insurance Coverages, and it operated under the acronym AIC. And quite frankly, didn't seem very catchy. And you know, being a wannabe sales guy, you're always looking for the hook, for that catch. You want to have that name that can stick with people. And we actually had a marketing firm come in, and the marketers they came together and said, "Okay, we're going to create the name for you." And they put together this list of names. Many of them seemed like they were straight out of the biotech playbook. Various forms of Latin phrases cobbled together, and they all had great meaning around what we're trying to do. And I said, listen, I'd love to have a name that everybody can spell, that could have meaning for everybody, and it has a little catchiness to it. And you know, when this journey was started, we wrote the business plan in 2013, kicked it off in 2014, sold our first policy in 2015. Another remarkable event happened along those lines, and my wife would kick me if I said it was less remarkable than what we're doing here.
Yeah, watch it. Be careful, John.
That's right. Got to be careful where you go with this. Make sure we get a list of who's watching this podcast. No, so it was fantastic. We had twins. My wife gave birth to twin boys, Edmund and George. And thinking about the name of the organization, we took the ED from Edmund and the GE from George and mashed them together to come up with Edge. And here we are today, Aon Edge.
So have you told them that's how the name of the company came about because of their names?
Yes, and so now whenever they see the word Edge anywhere, they think it's named after them. So it's been interesting.
That's better than them asking for royalties, right? On the name.
Just wait. There's seven. That's coming.
Right.
That's their
Yes.
trust fund, royalties. So
No,
now we've been in the marketplace for what is it, about 6 years at this point, if you're doing the math. What's really changed in the market from then to now? I know a lot more competitors are certainly in this space, speaking from a salesperson here.
I think a couple of things have changed. First of all, yes, new solutions are coming online. I think that's phenomenal. Like I said at the beginning, the NFIP, I think part of the struggles the NFIP had was that it was trying to be all things to all people rather than focusing on what it does really well and having new capital sources, new innovation, new concepts, new solutions come online. It helps everyone. Pardon the pun, but a rising water floats all boats, and I certainly think that's the case here. I think we can see continued investment and value from technology advancement. One of the things that drives the success of the Aon Edge Easy Flood solution is being able to harness the power of the impact forecasting model elements and using that model to drive pricing and underwriting decisions has proven immensely valuable for all stakeholders, the policyholders, the agents, the capital markets that support our program. So increasing investments in technology have certainly helped advance and accelerate the growth in this space. And I think changing times. I think the headlines I think are starting to catch hold. I think the weather events that you watch with like a car wreck happening on screen, and then once the event's over, you go back to work. I think those days may be starting to wane. I think these lessons are starting to stick with maybe a little bit more adhesiveness than in the past, which is driving adoption, driving conversation.
So Dave, you're in the field quite often with the agents. How has the conversation changed over the last few years with regard from NFIP to private? I know a few years ago, a lot of agents were reluctant to go to private, but has that conversation changed at all?
It has. It's kind of funny. I gave the example of 5 years ago trying to convince somebody that you can write a policy without an elevation certificate. Now, when we talk to them, they've got 5 private flood markets, and they say they're getting down in like the nitty gritty of private flood, right? So the knowledge base of some of the agents and brokers that are selling private flood has really gotten deeper than it was, which is great for not just for us working with them and helping them grow their business, but for them to help their customers and really protect what's important for customers. So that's probably the biggest advancement that we've seen. We also have started to hear about some folks or some competitors enter a flood product on an unadmitted paper, and that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. But I think that's going to be an opportunity as well to provide stability to the market.
When you think about it coming on an admitted basis, Dave, does that sort of give you the sense that this is here to stay?
It
It
does.
seems that there's an increasing permanence to the industry today than maybe there was yesterday.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of agents that'll tell you that. Once agents understood how private flood worked and what it was, there was still some reluctance because most of it, or almost all of it, was on surplus lines paper. And so now that you see admitted markets come in, you're hearing agents saying things like, "Well, as long as the rate is close, I'm going to offer the admitted product." So I think that is kind of a maturity that we've seen in the market.
I think the other thing you're saying too is increasing hardening, if you will, of the regulatory market, a permanence in the regulatory space. You have states like South Carolina that's adopted laws specific to private flood insurance. You see the Florida Insurance Commissioner, the Office of Insurance Regulation, looking at private flood insurance through a more standardized lens. And then just this year, you've seen FHA open up its loans potentially to private flood insurance. That regulation is still pending, but headed down a good path. And then just last week, the newly released interagency Q's and A's, the new draft that basically provides greater certainty around lender acceptance of private flood insurance. And also, interestingly, opens the door for lenders to have private flood do things that the federal program doesn't, a la deductibles. The proposed Q's and A's say that lenders can now say, we know the deductible options in the federal government. We want something higher or lower for you because of your special circumstances.
Yeah, we know that the industry is definitely changing where, earlier last year I heard from a lot of agents, now there's just too many flood markets out there. Well, I think a lot of their prayers have been answered because there's so many comparative raters now on the market just based on flood solutions, which is incredible. And it just really gives you a cue on what's really going on in the industry now. It's growing, and I think it's here to stay. So now I'm just going to ask you guys to look into your crystal ball and tell us what you think the future is going to hold for private flood or the flood industry in general with the NFIP risk rating 2.0 coming out supposedly at the end of this year. How is that really going to change, or how do you feel it's going to change the industry? I think you're on mute, Dave.
My apologies. We had to have at least one of those, right? I'll take it again. Um, I don't think it's going to be easier. I don't think this game is going to get easier than it has been. And it hasn't been easy to this point, but I think, the level of flood risk is not going down in most places. And one of the big challenges that I think we can all agree that exists is really helping homeowners understand what the real risk is. And so I think over the next, 5 or 10 years, there's going to be a lot of work and a lot of continuing work on helping homeowners and property owners understand what the real risk is in an area and help them make the best decision for them and their family about protecting that risk against the peril of flood.
I think that's outstanding, Dave. Completely agree. Just building on that for a second, one of the things that I see happening in the near term, and near term, I mean the next 3 to 5 years, we'll call that the immediate future. I see insurance solutions becoming even more tightly connected with the risk themselves. And what I mean by that You look at advancements with building and construction. One of the biggest challenges with flood insurance are homes with basements. Basements, become instant swimming pools when the water comes, and that's a challenge. It's a challenge for the homes, the people that use those basements as part of their lifestyle, as well as the insurance company that has to underwrite the risk and adjust the risk when the claim happens. But now they have construction where instead of using drywall, they use plastic to coat the walls. And it looks just the same as it did before, but it can instantly dry out with no permanent damage. Having these construction standards being more incorporated into homes and how we build our buildings, our homes, our residences is going to further strengthen the insurance industry and allow the insurance industry to offer more compelling, more affordable options. And so when I think about the future, and we talk about at Aon Edge, is flood insurance that works for you, it has to work for everybody. And I think that's harnessing these new techniques, these new abilities to adjust to changing times, and being able to create even more compelling insurance solutions.
All right. Well, we really appreciate your time. We know that you don't have a lot of it these days. Nobody really does, trying to juggle everything going on in the world. But we appreciate you coming on, and thanks for answering our questions. Thanks everybody for listening, and have a great day.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you for listening to What the Flood podcast, brought to you by Aon Edge. For more information about our programs, please visit aonedge.com. For questions, please email us at edgefeedback@aon.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.